Hi guys, well here I am again, and Christmas is nearly upon us. As I said in the last blog that I wrote, if any of you have read it, that I thought I would make some kind of special chutney for Christmas right off the top of my head. And I said I would go into the supermarket and just think Christmas and have a wander around the shelves and see what I could pick off the shelves to make some nice flavours and come up with something really unique. So I wandered in the other day and my eyes are lighted on these beautiful pears, these lovely blush, I think they call them pink blush pears or something like that. If you can see the colour on those, look absolutely marvellous. And I thought, well, that's ever so Christmassy, and that you can almost imagine that hanging on your Christmas tree, couldn't you, just as is. And they smell absolutely glorious. So I thought, well, alright, we'll make a pear type chutney, and what should we put with it? Well, what else could I do? You know, it had to be cranberries, didn't it? So then they were sat right by the side of the pears, and they look so beautiful together, the two colours, the red and the red and the pink together. I thought, well, it's going to have to be cranberries. So but I thought, well, just pear and cranberry, that's going to be nice. It's different, you know, there's not many, I don't think I've ever seen a pear and cranberry chutney. But what could I add that just typifies Christmas? Perhaps gives a bit of a difference in texture, you know, when you eat it and take a spoonful of it, and would go with those kind of flavours. And you know what I came up with? Walnuts. So what we're going to make is, we've got some walnuts here, we've got some cranberries, and we've got these lovely pears, and what we're going to make is a pear, cranberry and walnut chutney. Now obviously it wants to have the sweeter, the more Christmassy type spices to it. So I'm going to add to it a bit of ginger. I think ginger will go nicely with that. It'll just set off that sweetness of those pears. I'm going to give it a bit of fire, because it is supposed to be chutney after all. It's not a sauce or a jam. So we'll give it a bit of fire with a bit of chilli. A couple of onions, never go amiss in there. And I think then for the real, and a bit of garlic. Of course, we always got to have a bit of garlic. Can't do anything without garlic, I'm afraid. But for the spices, I think we're going to have the real sweet sort of Christmassy spices. So we're going to have the allspice, and we're going to have the cinnamon, plenty of nutmeg. Going to grate a lot of nutmeg in there. And I thought I would pop in, just that just seems right to me. I'm going to pop in 1 star anise. I don't know whether most of you are familiar with this, but it's a real aniseedy smell. Now these have actually been in my cupboard a while, and they've lost a lot of their pungency, which I'm quite pleased about, because I don't want it to overpower it. They can be a bit overpowering. So I'm going to pop one of those in, and I'll take that out at the end, of course. And the same, just a couple of cloves. What I always say about cloves, too many, everything tastes of cloves. So I'll probably put 1, maybe 2 cloves in. So that's what I wanted to show you, the raw ingredients, before I started. Because that's what I've come up with. I said on the blog that I would go into the supermarket and just pick something that really reminded me of Christmas, and that's what I've got. So I'm going to chop all this up, stick it in the saucepan, and I think I'll come back and show you me putting it all together and in the saucepan just for a moment, and then we'll go on from there and boil it up and see how we do. So I'll be back in a mo when I've chopped it all up. Okay, so I'll see you then. Bye. Okay guys, well here I am back, just chopping up the last of the pears. They're absolutely delicious. I've just had a sneak preview and they taste absolutely divine. So for those of you that are interested in the numbers, okay, we've had a kilo, what's that, 2.5 pounds of pears, 2 and a bit pounds of pears, probably 2 pounds by the time I've cored them and what have you, taken the tops off. So probably 2 pounds of pears, and 1 large onion has gone in there, and that's what's in there so far. I'm now going to have a nice big chunk of ginger. What's that, 1.5 inches, 2 inches long, nice big piece of ginger, and I'm just going to chop that into slices. Okay, that should really make a nice heat and zing to this whole thing. I just chop that into slices and then give it a bit of a further chop. It's nice, these sort of bursts of warmth in your mouth at Christmas. If you just get the knife and give it a quick going over like that, it'll just break it down into smallish chunks. And you know, when you get that, it's been cooked, well cooked down, so when you get that in your mouth, you just get that bit of extra warmth, you know, because this wants to be one of those real heart-warming sort of chutneys. Now then, for the proper heat, we just have, I think we'll have half this bird's eye chilli because they are mighty warm. Maybe not even that, perhaps we'll just have a quarter of that with the ginger that's in there. But it's up to you, you know, however hot you want your chutney, you make it however hot you want it. You know, you should know how much heat you like. I think I'm only going to put, you know, the end of the knife's worth in there. So that's that. Pop the star anise in while we remember, that can go in there. The garlic cloves, they want crushing and peeling, and they need to go in. They need to be crushed with the garlic crusher. Just get the skins off, nice and easy. If you smash them with the back of your knife like you saw me do there, he says, the skins come off easily, but they do. Much easier than just trying to peel them without giving them a quick bash with the back of the knife. So that's got the skins off of those. We just get the garlic crusher. There we have it. And put them in. All three, no they won't, two will fit in. Get those crushed in there. There we go. And the last one. Crush that one in as well. And there we have it. There we go. And also, I always like to flick it out, the stuff that's inside the crusher, so you get a lot, being a garlic fiend that I am. Okay, so now then we want to add, now I reckon about 5 to 6 ounces of cranberries, which is half of this packet. I think will be more than enough. They want to go in there. That should be lovely. And got 100 grams of walnuts, and I think we'll add those a little later on. I think I'll add those about halfway through the cooking process, so as they really continue to have that great crunch and don't impart too much of a walnutty flavour to the whole thing, but they're just there at it. Oh, there's a flavour sensation, you know, when you bite down on them. But I'm going to use 100 grams of those, which is 3 ounces for those of you still working pounds and ounces. Half a pint of cider vinegar now. We'll stick on the top. Nice, good cider vinegar. I always think that it's worth having a decent one because otherwise it's just all acid and no flavour. So this is a half a pint bottle, or near as damn it anyway. We pour that on the top of there. Okay. And I've got 8 ounces of white sugar. Now you know why I'm using white sugar? Because I want to keep the colour. Use brown sugar and all you'll get is a horrible dark brown chutney, you know, which will look like any other chutney you can go and buy from the supermarket. Use white sugar, it'll keep all the colour in it. So I've got 8 ounces of white sugar, which I think is probably more than enough. Remember, I'm doing this off the top of my head, but I'm going to put it all in, I think. It's going to make it pretty sweet, but there we go. Okay, so we've got 8 ounces of white sugar. Now then, teaspoons of. So a teaspoon, I think probably half a teaspoon of ground allspice. It's strong stuff. If we can get, I'll just have to stand over here to do it, but I think half a teaspoon of ground allspice will be enough. There we are, it's half a teaspoon of that gone in. And a good couple of teaspoons, I would think, of ground cinnamon. Certainly a good generous one, and I would probably go another one. Okay, so that's 2 decent teaspoons of ground cinnamon. So So that's the allspice and the cinnamon. The nutmeg I'm going to grind in off camera, but again I would have a good teaspoon's worth. There's no point me standing here grinding this in front of you. We don't have very long on these YouTube videos anyway, and just watching me do that is pointless. I'll grind it in once it starts to get boiling, but a good heaped teaspoon of nutmeg, give it that real Christmassy flavour. And a couple of cloves, maybe even one. Perhaps I'll start with, yeah, I'll start with one, well maybe two. No, I'll do two. Mother of indecision. There we go, 2 cloves, no more than that. They're so strong, and you can end up with everything tasting of clove. Right, I think we've got everything. We've got our liquid, we've got our sugar, we've got all of our ingredients except for the walnuts. I'll get boiling, and I'll come back perhaps halfway through, or maybe at the end, depending on how it's looking, and show you how we're getting along. So till then, see you soon. Well guys, here I am back, and I think we've managed to capture the flavour of Christmas. I put all those ingredients in, I've boiled them down to the chutney consistency, where you run your spoon across the bottom of the saucepan and the chutney parts, and then slowly comes back over the bottom of the saucepan. And let's have a look, shall we, what we've got here. It's gorgeous. Let's put it on here. It's lovely sort of, well, I suppose it's cinnamon type colour, isn't it? If I can hold that up to the camera, there we are. And it's that sort of reddy cinnamon colour, and the smell is absolutely all what you would imagine Christmas to be. And those pears and the cranberries, absolutely wonderful. And the marvellous thing about it is the walnuts. If you get hold of a walnut in it, which is one in here, and I'll put it on the end of my spoon, and when it's very hot, but when you crunch into one of those, it still releases that lovely walnutty taste, and it gives the whole thing a whole extra dimension. That really is a cracking chutney, and I'll tell you, if you serve that to anybody with your Christmas supper, they're going to absolutely love it, and they're going to want the recipe. As usual, you'll be able to find the recipe, and I think I'll write a whole blog on this one, as I've taken some photos of it boiling, and so you'll be able to find the recipe and a blog, what happened, how I chose all the ingredients and so on. At the usual place, you see the URL down there, mypicklesandjams.com, and until next time guys, certainly a Merry Christmas, especially if you have this recipe. Goodbye.